the Seahawks and the Rams.
Never seen anything like some of the things that occurred.
They're reviewing the play. If that ball was going backwards, it's a fumble.
There might not have been any play all of last season more important than Seattle's Week 16 Thursday night two-point conversion against the Los Angeles Rams.
After reviewing the play, the quarterback threw a backward pass, which was recovered in the end zone by the offense.
It might have decided the NFC West title, home field advantage, the NFC champion, and even the eventual Super Bowl winner.
This is one of the game-changing plays, and it's totally different because Charbonnet picks up this football.
I'm glad Charbs, picked it up.
The two-point conversion enabled Seattle, not Los Angeles, to win the division. It allowed the Seahawks, not the Rams, to host the NFC Championship game, and it propelled the Seahawks to a Super Bowl win. Had the two-point conversion not happened, nobody would have been surprised to see the Rams win the division, home field advantage, and even the Super Bowl. That's just how good Los Angeles was. This season, the Rams might be better. They pulled off the biggest trade of the offseason, landing the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. They've added former Chiefs cornerback Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson.
I'm looking forward to help bring a championship here to LA.
The Seahawks lost Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker III, but used their first-round pick on Notre Dame running back Jadarian Price.
I'm coming into a winning culture, so I'm excited.
The two teams that looked like football's two best teams last season won't square off again this season until Christmas night, a present for fans. Then they'll play again the last week of the regular season, meaning the Rams and Seahawks play 2 times in the season's final 3 weeks. And nobody would be surprised if for the second straight year, there were a third meeting in the postseason.
Two of the teams we're watching most closely as the season approaches. Hawk, let's start with the champs. How much confidence do you have in the Seahawks' ability to be right back at the top of the NFC this season?
I have more confidence this year than I had in them last year, but less confidence than I do in the Rams this year to be the NFC's top contender. And that has nothing to do with whether or not the Seattle Seahawks are greatly positioned. It's just the Rams are that good, and that is their biggest threat to getting back to the same top of the mountain that they were a year ago. The second biggest threat is Clint Kubiak's departure to the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I think Sam Darnold's, status within this offense is probably a little bit understated, but at the same time, there are going to be growing pains. There are going to be evolutions that need to take place for this offense for them to get used to. It's very similar to when Ben Johnson left the Detroit Lions and they were kind of left sputtering that year. Now, again, I don't think that same thing happens here, but with Brian Fleury coming in as the OC, there's going to be growing pains, and that question will have to be answered early in the season for everyone to have the same confidence that they had in Seattle Seahawks last year, especially with that offense.
Hawk, what was clear about the Seahawks offseason is what they didn't do. They didn't try to run it back with every single piece. They let some free agents walk. Boye Mafe, a pass rusher, they let him sign for $20 million with the Bengals, where meanwhile they signed Dante Fowler for like 15% of that. They don't bring back Kenneth Walker, who goes in free agency. They bring him back with Jadarian Price, the draft pick. So they're trying to replace some of those players in the aggregate while they take care of their stars. Jackson Smith and Jigba already paid. Cornerback Devon Witherspoon, they want to pay. Leonard Williams is 32, still dominant a year from free agency. So they have some pillars that they know they're going to have to be on the books for, and they let some players walk feeling like, hey, we're going to rely on our stars and our coaching and our system to get it done.
And, Jeremy, that Witherspoon deal, when it gets done, is going to be a whopper. I would expect him to become the highest-paid cornerback in football. I think that deal will get done at some point this summer, that Seattle will keep him. And as you mentioned, not keeping some of those players was with all this in mind, knowing that they did pay Jackson Smith and Jigba and knowing that they still intend to pay Devon Witherspoon, who they want to keep in Seattle, who at some point here will become the highest paid cornerback in football, which also will help set up a deal in New England for the Patriots star cornerback Christian Gonzalez.
Yes, Seattle managing the cap to make sure they can stay competitive at a high level. But the last NFC team to repeat as Super Bowl champions was the Cowboys back in 1992-93. So it doesn't happen very often. The Rams defense was a big reason why they fell short in the NFC Championship game, and they allowed 31 points in 2 of their 3 playoff games. After giving up the fewest points per game in the league through the first 12 weeks, LA was 26th in points allowed the rest of the way. But after adding Myles Garrett and 2 starters in the secondary, safety Cam Curl thinks this can be a special unit.
I feel like we got a chance to be legendary. This is the type of guys we got, the coaches we got, man. And, you know, we got a bunch of experience back there. You know, we got some Super Bowl winners in there. You know what I'm saying? We got some defensive player of the years. We got some guys that if we do what we got to do, we can be one of the best.
I think that's true regardless. But, Adam, one of the big things that's still hanging out there is this idea that maybe Aaron Donald could come out of retirement. What do you have on that?
Well, before I get to that, I just want to say that Zach Charbonnet play that we talked about, I think that set up the entire Rams offseason, because I don't know that they would have gone out and traded for Myles Garrett if they had gone out and won the Super Bowl last year. Maybe so, but that Zach Charbonnet play may have been the key to trading for Trent McDuffie, for trading for Myles Garrett, and now potentially bringing back Aaron Donald. And the idea here is Donald himself has floated that he could potentially return to Los Angeles. He's thinking about it. Training camp is getting closer next month. They'd have to come up with a plan for him to bring it back. But where else right now would Aaron Donald be more wanted, more celebrated, more respected than in the Rams locker room where Myles Garrett is already waiting for him? Again, no decision from Aaron Donald, and we'll see whether the two sides can get it done. But there seems to be a lot of momentum to the idea that this is certainly possible.
Exciting to think about, Hawk, but even whether it happens or not, what do you think of the job the Rams front office has done adding to that defense this offseason?
I think they did what every great band does. They get in front of a big audience and they play their greatest hits. What they're trying to do with their defensive backfield and what they've mixed with Myles Garrett is very similar to what they had when they had Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald in the front. They make those trades. They say, hey, look, down the stretch last year in the playoffs, we had Sam Darnold throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns against us. We have to correct that. Trent McDuffie is a corner that is all pro caliber. He can play the field. He can play the boundary. He can play the slot. Jalen Watson is a big body corner, obviously his partner in crime, but also he's very physical and he can throw receivers off routes, and he is very aggressive with those really, really long arms he has. And then you add the best pass rusher in football. Then yes, that's going to improve any defense, let alone a defense that did perform well a year ago. You have 3 all-star level players on a team that you're saying, hey, my window for the Super Bowl is this year. That's how you make sure you include an insurance package that also supports that.
First of all, there's some people in league circles that are a little nervous about this Aaron Donald situation, considering what the Rams already have.
Yeah.
When you talk to people, you hear the question, like, are they really getting Aaron Donald? Like, is that a serious thing? Just the feeling that it would sort of be unfair at that point with that defensive line with Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald, even though he'd be, mid-30s at this point? He could probably roll out of bed and be his excellent Hall of Fame self. And so the Rams said enough. Defensively, we're not good enough. We have to upgrade in several spots. There are now some salary cap constraints, similar to what Seattle dealt with last year. I don't know if we can bring that depth chart back up. You have Byron Young, pass rusher, who's going to be a 2027 free agent. Probably can't afford to pay him right now. You have Kobe Turner, really good 3-4 DN that they can't pay right now. And they got some guys on offense, same thing. So some of the players in their own locker room they can't really take care of because they spent money on Myles Garrett and Trent McDuffie and Matthew Stafford. So it creates an interesting dynamic with LA. They do have a precedent for waiting to pay players, and they're kind of leaning on that right now.
Well, Jeremy, that's exactly why they were interested in trading Jared Verse, because they knew they had to pay him, and they've seen some of the money going around for these pass rushers. We saw this offseason Will Anderson get over $50 million a year. And so Jared Verse is going to be a huge number. And before they got to that point, the Rams figured as much as they didn't want to have to trade Jared Verse, and as much as they like him as a player, they knew that they couldn't afford to pay everybody. And so Myles Garrett was going to be cheaper than having to pay Jared Verse long term. Why not make the deal for the player that some people feel is the best non-quarterback player in the National Football League?
The Rams are all about the here and now, and DraftKings Sportsbook has them as the clear favorite to win the Super Bowl in their home stadium. Obviously, long way to go